Fairly with us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Brave communication is what we're talking about.
Beautiful.
You'd like
Let's
to talk about this?
I do. I've been talking about it a long time, so it's one of those topics where it gets a little old, but still love it.
Yeah.
It's important.
So we're going to cram like hours of
Yes, you are.
content into like basically 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Or attempt to.
So here's the essence of it, right? Can I hear your heart? Can I share my own heart? So those are the two skills. Like, do I know how to listen to you in a moment of crisis, conflict, or strong emotions?
Yep.
Without interrupting, without being defensive. Do I know how to like send a message to you like, I heard you? And then can I articulate my own heart? Or do I bring out a list of wrongs? Or do I, use all the reasons I'm right and you're wrong? So can I hear your heart? Can I share my own? Which means, do I actually know what I'm really thinking and feeling about this? Which is the big key.
That can be tough.
And then the final step is to create a new normal, which is where you negotiate something that's good for you and I, that might be different than everywhere else, but it's appropriate for you and I.
Yeah.
So like, we tend to think, no, I should just be able to treat everybody the same way. It doesn't really work that way when you love people.
Yeah.
And so I could be kind of snarky and sarcastic. My wife, however, does not thrive in an environment of snarky and sarcastic. It's not playful or fun, you know? She's not wrong about that. I'm not right about my deal.
I think you're kind of right. I like sarcastic.
So we're like, you try to like create a new normal, which is where we don't use sarcasm and snarkiness, in our relationship.
Yeah.
I do have a fun story about that because
you can use it with me anytime you like.
I know, like there's certain folks I can aim that at,
Yeah.
and we hurt each other sometimes, but other times it's super funny. But I said to her one time, we've been married for about eight years. I said, baby, you trust me. I'm not sending you like weird messages. I'm going to own the messages I'm sending you. And she's like, yeah. And I said, so I want to get some more play, some more sass back in our relationship. And she's like, well, so you want to have more sarcasm? Yeah, like not like tearing the flesh sarcasm, which is what sarcasm means, but just play, teasing. And so she goes, okay, I'll try. So the next morning, I get up, I get up the next morning. The kids were all up, and I just slept in just a little bit. And I get up, and it's noisy. I just come out, I'm scratching, and then Christy hands me some toast.
You're scratching.
She never does.
Thank you for that detail, too.
No, it's appropriate scratching.
Detail, yeah.
But I'm just waking up, and she hands me toast, which she doesn't do. My wife doesn't meet me with toast, like in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And she goes, here's your toast, you jerk. And I flashed. I went like, did you just call me? I didn't say it out loud in my head. Did you just call me a jerk? I just got up. What have I done? Did I not pick up stuff last night when I went to bed or whatever else? And then and she's kind of smiling at me, and I'm like, oh, that's your attempt at being playful and teasy and sarcastic. And I'm like, oh, you're right, baby. You're not very good at this. I didn't say that out loud either, but I do love the story because it's like, in this close connection we have with each other, we try to create a new normal, and then we backed away from it. You know what? Our old normal is working just fine.
Yeah, right. That is pretty funny.
So those are the two things. It's not rocket surgery, which I said on purpose, but so partly, can you hear somebody's heart? It's can I listen to the emotions you're having, not just the content.
Okay.
And I end up reacting and trying to explain away emotions instead of just letting you tell me how you've experienced the situation.
Yeah.
And that's scary for people, right? Because people will avoid their emotions. I think emotions are like the number one thing that controls our communication. We live in a fantasy that it's content, that's right or wrong, controls communication. But no, I think it's emotions. Like how did I feel respected? And below respect is did I feel mad, sad, or afraid about that interaction that we had, or about this interaction that we're going to have? Or do I feel glad about it? So being able for somebody else to have their emotions and me not have to talk them out of it or feel like less than because you're having an emotion I'm uncomfortable with, it's a big deal. And then I talk about once I know, am I happy about the situation? Am I mad about it? Am I sad about it? Am I afraid because of it? I can use that to create an I message to let you know how I'm experiencing the situation.
Yep.
And so that can become the basis of this. I reflect what I'm hearing you as far as so you're sad when I do this, and then it sounds like that made you really frustrated. Like it did make me frustrated. So you can have just a set of skills that help you send a message to the person like your emotions. I heard them, and they matter to me. I might not agree with where we're going in this whole deal, but you matter to me. and the other person feels heard, and it's like, well, these are the emotions I'm having around this experience. So some of the ideas I talk about in there is communication's a learned skill. We kind of think you just either have it or you don't, but you learned it from mom and dad, and you probably never reflected on what it's been looking like since. And so it's like, it's probably time to reflect on, did your mom and dad have a fabulous marriage, and then the rest of it you learned on the playground with other kids. So it's probably time to up the game with your skill set. And the ability to listen quietly while somebody else is unpacking something and then reflect it back to them.
And listen quietly by not looking at your phone, but actually listening.
No, listen to them and then, some I had
listening
to learn that
noises. In marriage.
Listen.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me more.
That was one of my early lessons. She's like, I don't feel like you're listening. I'm like, I am listening. Well, why are you looking at your phone and your thumb is moving?
Well, you're not even a good fake listener. At that
I know, that's true. I wasn't. I was trying to act like I needed the phone to listen better, which is just now I realize how dumb that sounds. At the time, it sounded really smart and thoughtful.
No, really, it's true. I can relate. There's been conversations where I can hear my wife has brought up something that she cares about. I'm watching something. We have a DVR, so I can press pause on it and talk or whatever else. But somehow, I'll just kind of keep the control in my hand in some kind of crazy way. And you realize, this is probably a pretty crazy disrespect message that I'm just like, I'm ready. As soon as this is over, and scene, So, the ability to kind of put those things down and listen. Yeah. So communication, learned behavior, you can get better at it, I can get better at it. Scripture has tons of verses about communication style. Yeah. The tongue being set on fire, is a fire. It's set on, fire by hell itself. So life and death's in the power of the tongue. Be completely humble and gentle. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. And so I do find people like, I just gotta, be me, and I don't want to work so hard. You're like, well, you're wiping out your wife and your kids and your environment, and you've been fired from 3 jobs. You might want to take a look at your communication.
You might want to start working hard. That might be a good time.
You was killing you, yeah. So that's what we're up to with it, The other deal that we talked about, the other dominant, so those are the skills, right? Can I listen and reflect? Can I articulate my own emotions? And then can we creatively solve for a solution? Because if we don't have that solving part, I actually have a series on this brave communication, but I did not highlight the solving part, the move towards a creative solution. And it was fine because it was I could hear you, you could hear me, and then we be done. All right.
You both heard each other.
What do we? Yeah, we sure did. But we don't have any idea of how to move forward. What's the new normal? We could get in light of this. But there's a little bit of that there, but I would want to just kind of highlight that it might be, especially in a big conflict, you might not want to jump to let's fix this, really quickly. How can we do this different? You don't want to. Sometimes you need a couple of rounds of and I experienced this, and I experienced this, and experienced this, and you're like, so you felt boom, boom, boom. Okay, that's helpful for me to realize my impact that I was having on you.
Sure.
How do we move forward? What are you thinking? And sometimes they might be like, I need you to crawl across broken glass, with that. And I'm not sure I can do that. Yeah. But that's the creativity that we can have. And Stephen Covey talked about this in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He talked about, we look for win-win solutions, but a lot of us were raised in win-lose. Yeah. And I was raised in a win-lose house, so. And somebody won and somebody lost, and everybody knew who that was. And but this idea of win-win is a little bit. We talk about it in Bethel slang. Would be thinking like fathers or mothers, which is I'm going to think about the whole environment, not just my own needs.
Yeah, that's good.
And so a win-win. Covey has this great illustration. He goes, I'm by the window working. I got the window up because I'm hot, and I'm doing fine. I'm reading, so the wind doesn't bother me. You're over here working, and the wind's blowing your papers all over. And so, you get up and shut the window. And I'm like, hey, I'm hot. And you're like, well, the wind's blowing my paper. And you end up in these binary. There's only one solution to this. Yep. And when you're trying to create a new normal, you realize, well, we could change places. You could, you could be over here. I could go sit over there.
Sure.
There's just so many other things.
Get stuck in one thought. Yeah. Think of a different way.
This is the only way it'll work. It's you're trying to negotiate. So it's not just crisis where you're frustrated, but actually problem solving. When you've got 2 weeks of vacation and you want to be perfect, and one of your idea of perfect is camping for 2 weeks, and the other one it's no. It is the beach and hotels and restaurants. And so you have this beautiful thing: the money to go, the time to go, and two options. And you're like, this one makes me alive, and you're like, I hate that one. This one makes me alive. Well, I hate that one. So then you got, well, we got a problem about something really good, So we need these skills even when it's not some, terrible rift in our relationship, but even when we're problem solving.
All right, on that important question, for you, Dan, camping or hotels and restaurants?
Used to be camping.
Used to be camping.
But got a little older, and that whole sleeping in the dirt and being constantly dirty is less a value than it used to be.
Yeah. It's never been a value of mine until I moved to Reading, and now I've attempted it a couple times.
I used to backpack. I've backpacked for 10 days in a row, low impact.
What?
Low impact means no toilet paper. Just FYI, don't ever go.
That seems like that would have a high impact on me with no toilet paper.
It was. It built a lot of camaraderie. Not the sort of camaraderie you want to have. But
we've tried to camp twice.
We didn't set fires either, because fires burn stones and blacken stones, and you want to leave no trace. I don't recommend it.
You didn't even do it with fire?
No.
Wow.
That was the only time we ever did that. But 10 days out there, not wonderful.
Not my cup of tea.
That's not when I stopped either. I did go after that.
So now you prefer a hotel and
somehow or whatever that happens. You turn 50 and
I'm not 50
flips.
and I still choose that. So
my wife's not a camper either, so that kind of means that. But not that I have anything against you camper people.
Yeah, I don't have anything against you. I just don't understand you. That's all.
Please write in and tweet him so he can understand you. What is awesome.
I'm not even on Twitter, so you can tweet me. I won't see it. Please tweet me all of your negative opinions. That's exactly where you should send them. So, I mean, talking through this, thinking through it in the context of relationship, that's where we're talking. But I want to talk kind of romantic relationship for a second. Let's talk not married, but dating.
Okay.
Still new in the relationship. You're getting to the point where you're past the honeymoon stage of the excitement of the new boyfriend or girlfriend. It's maybe been dating a year. You're both godly people, but you're trying to figure out how to coexist with each other's families, perhaps. Each other's differences. What are some of these things where the brave communication, you're looking at this and saying, okay, here's some really easy, practical, hey, take this and apply it in this way in a romantic dating setting? Because you obviously do a lot of coaching here at the school. A lot of dating goes on. A lot of not dating goes on. There's dating that does or doesn't go on.
Yes. We actually don't have a rule against dating in our school. Some ministry schools do. So
yeah, I went to one of those.
Yeah, did you?
A couple times.
Did you date there, or did you?
Well, I got kicked out because they thought I wanted to date.
Because you wanted to date.
They thought I had
an inkling. That's like the definition of religion right there. That is that definition.
Yeah, that.
This young man wanted to date. He's got to go.
A thought.
He's got to go.
Yeah, totally true story. And so yeah, I mean, speak to that.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'll have to give you the full story sometime.
No, I probably actually know it. Probably seen it lived out hundreds of times in the church. Yeah. What can I say? Let's see. Their struggle about parents. That whole deal.
Yes.
This would be where I think you send a message, and the message has 4 components, which is I feel, and you pick one of these. I feel sad, mad, or afraid. I might be glad, but But generally, you pick one of those and then you give a non-blaming, as best you can, non-blaming description of the problem.
Okay.
Because, and then you give because if you want, right? And then, so could we. This is where you create a new normal. You suggest a new normal. So I'm just making this up for me. It's like, Betty, I'll call my girlfriend Betty. Like, Betty, I feel frustrated when we visit your parents and politics come up because I see it very differently than your dad. And I don't want to have a fight with him, but I feel embarrassed being silent when I disagree. Yeah. So could you jump in and change the subject when that comes up? So I don't have to. I can just smile and nod. So something like that, where you give the emotion, non-blame. You're not calling the guy, a flaming conservative or whatever. You're just like, I'm just not thriving, and so we just need a strategy for this. Might be what it is. So, and you're not blaming him or her. You're just kind of saying, let's find a win-win in this whole deal. Yeah.
How critical is that blame piece?
Well, as soon as I say, I feel frustrated when your dad is such an idiot about President Trump or former President Obama or just as soon as that thing where we are careless in our description of what the problem is, that's where we can actually be full of care. And we're used to being full of care.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's where we'll take a shot at somebody if we're not careful. It's hard to do. Don't get me wrong. Somebody comes in, they drop all their books on the table, just coming late into a staff meeting, and you're like, hey, I was frustrated when you dropped all your books in a huff. I wasn't in a huff. You're like, okay.
Because huff is such a threatening word. I hate it when people use huff with me personally.
So, but so I was frustrated when you came into the meeting like you did. And then there's no motive ascribed to it at all.
Yeah, sure.
Like easier said than done. But again, we know how to choose the right words. Like when we want to get something we want, we'll pick our words. When we're afraid we might be in trouble, we'll totally pick our words.
Yeah.
So it comes down to.
But when we're accusing,
we'll just throw an accusation out there and see if it does a little damage and helps us win the argument. So. Just some self-responsibility in the moment of some self-responsibility in the moment of the conflict. Like I'm actually trying to solve this. So if I use heightened words, I'm not going to solve it. If I can see their side of the situation there a little bit. One of the illustrations I talk about is suppose I'm at the mall, right, and I see somebody that looks like you, and it's actually they're shaped like you. Like from behind, I feel like, oh, that sounds. Oh no.
So for me, it'd be like if you saw Bradley Cooper
somebody
or Brad Pitt or
super with a V shape with a
totally
broad shoulders. So, but if I say, hey, I was thinking about it the other day, and you're like, really? I saw someone that looked like you. You might be like, oh, what it looked like me? Did they have a beard? You might wonder. But if I say, yeah, I saw someone shaped like you. We just know that would throw a lot of our friends into a tizzy about that. It might be completely true that it was the shape of the person that made me think of you, but you're just like, yeah, I'm not going to use the word shape. It's just like, that's just not going to be helpful at all. So try to use, if we're trying to solve a problem creatively and to be, a lot of this is symbiotic. There you go. With Danny Soaks, we're trying to maintain the connection. And what I talk about is once you get good at this, you feel like on the other side of a crisis, we're going to still be respectful towards each other. I'm going to have respect with you. You're going to have respect with me. Lots of them will solve. Some will end up unsolvable. Like we have to realize that some roommates we never get eye to eye with. Some things in our marriage we just have to figure out we see this different, and we're going to build a new normal around this or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm not acting like everything can get super solved.
Yeah.
But we can't start moving closer to each other and not feeling like the other person's trying to kill us with their crazy ways of doing stuff. One of your team just reminded me of a story I tell sometimes about the image I give as code books is that everybody has their own code book.
Yeah, right.
And we think it's a universal code book that all humans have.
That everybody knows.
Yeah, everybody knows you show up everywhere 5 minutes early. Everybody knows you don't talk to people while you're standing at the urinals. Everybody knows you don't clip your nails in a meeting with other humans in the room. And everybody should know that, by the way. Have
you seen the Instagram page about people putting their feet up in airplanes?
No, I don't do the Instagram.
Oh.
I saved.
I'm going to send you some pictures.
No, I've saved my. You'll have to email them, which I don't read either. So there's that. You could come and show them to me like the Xerox copies. And
Dan, you got to see this. Look what I printed for you.
Or get your phone out and go look. Isn't that hilarious? So it's not some spiritual thing.
All right, so I'm never going to show you these.
It's not some
never mind
thing.
Showing you the videos.
I just can't be interested in people's
back to what
they're eating and what their feet are doing. So this mind is.
Anyways, what people should know in your code books.
Dang, it's totally gone now. Oh,
code books.
Yeah. Okay. So, and we live with this everybody knows you can't. That word means this, and you're like, no, words mean different things. Even the idea, what I'm describing to you is a pretty direct form of communication. It's called indirect communication, where if I would say, do you have the time? You might have a watch on, but I'm giving you the option
to not tell it
to me. My dad would say, I wonder what's for lunch, when I was the only one who could make it for him. I'd be so mad about that. I'd be like, what a disrespect. He doesn't even ask me what he,
I don't know, whatever you're making.
What's wrong with you? It's exactly, my snarky voice came up hugely there. Until I realized, he has a preference for indirect communication, which a lot of people older than me do have that, and a lot of cultures. I think the Asian culture has a lot of preference for indirect communication. Hispanic culture oftentimes does. So you have to realize, even what I'm telling you when you send an iMessage is a bit some people are going to be totally caught off guard by that. But some people's code book is, we don't have problems.
Yeah.
So when you bring up a problem, you're already violating their code book. So just realize that dynamic's going on too. Like we said, this is a 2-hour conversation. But in the code book, you got to figure out we can actually build intimacy by sharing our code book with each other and gain understanding rather than simply judging each other.
Sure.
So I had a fabulous roommate, a tremendously quality man, and we were roommates for 3 years. And we had this ongoing thing. He's super neat. I wasn't. A little bit of an odd couple.
You weren't neat?
No, not at all.
I picture you as neat.
No.
I haven't seen your desk.
It's an illusion, my friend.
Wow.
So
I feel like you're shattering my code book right now.
Good. Because that's a lie. It needs to fall.
Wow. It's dead.
I'm living with him, and he'd asked me at some point, over the years, and just to up my housekeeping game with him, And at one point, he asked me like, "Dude, I end up taking the trash out all the time. Could you take it out some?" I'm like, "Absolutely." It's just that I always think like I'm just about ready to do it, and then you take it out. So yeah, I want to. So, anyways, like, good. So we're good. So as you can imagine, what happens there, because we didn't quite negotiate it well enough, a new normal. So I'm watching the trash, and from about 4 inches, before the lid, I'm watching like, now it's 2 inches below the lid, and now it's
your
even.
idea of when that needs to be taken out.
And then so I get in, I press it down. I'm like, this is what he wants me to press it down. So I press it down, like we gain another inch, and then we more. And then I'm watching it because I'm like, okay, in about another 2 inches, it'll be set to go. Because in my code book, the trash is full when you can no longer balance anything on it. So it's like, it's got to go, at that point. So that's when I thought he was asking me, when you see it to the place where you can no longer balance anything, it's got to go, which is totally my code book. His was 4 inches below, so you had plenty of room to like tie a knot and everything else and carry it. And the cockroaches, of which we did have cockroaches when having a feast.
Mainly
and various
because
things.
of you, it sounds like.
No, actually, it wasn't that bad. Let's not. No illusions. Not that bad. Not as bad as other people could be. Anyway, so that was a big deal in our code book. Like his it's ready to be taken out 4 inches below. Mine is it's 4 inches above. And so
that's an 8-inch gap.
There was an 8 inches of disrespect there. That's an 8 inches of disrespect in our relationship. That totally hurt his heart. Like he totally thought, even when I talk to the guy,
he doesn't listen.
He won't listen.
Change.
He won't change. Like I must not matter at all. And of course, he mattered a ton to me. And so it was very embarrassing just having to own that carelessness. And it's easy to be defensive. Like, dude, you didn't tell me it's 4 inches below or above.
Right.
Instead of all that, just kind of realize my brother has been experiencing ongoing disrespect. Every time he throws something away, he's having a Dan doesn't respect me moment. For weeks or months. And I think a little bit in his code book, once we talk, you shouldn't have to talk again. But my code book's more like, people don't stay changed very easily. It takes hard work to change. So I don't mind reminding and going, hey, remember that thing we talked about? Could you put some attention to it again?
Yeah, right.
So, but other people are like, you're on me again. You're nagging me. So I understand why people kind of they have rules that they protect themselves with.
Yeah.
And knowing how to work through the rules with each other is super helpful. I had somebody on my singles team. I'd come to church and say hi to everybody else but him, and they're like, I feel hurt because you make time for everybody but me, and I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and then I realized, in my code book, I didn't explain away the observation. I said, hey, I'm sorry to hurt you. I'm going to do better, but I realized in my code book it was I viewed Sunday mornings as take care of the vulnerable sheep time. So I was looking for the newcomer, the one on the edge, the one who wasn't at church very often, so I made time. And since he was a steady Eddie who I completely trusted, I'm like, you're not my target on Sunday morning. So they have this interesting moment, like they're getting a disrespect message, and in my mind, I'm sending them an unreflected upon respect message.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know who you are in God. You're part of this community. I can rely on you through thick and thin. I don't look at you as one of the sheep. I look at you as a peer.
Yeah.
So two exactly different, same
messages.
behavior, and yet we're walking away with completely different understandings of what's happening there. We did get a chance to share that with each other, built intimacy, and then it was playful. Then it was like, hey, I see you. They're like, stop it. I'm like,
yeah. Don't ever say hi to me again now.
Exactly. But then you have this sense of play and fun in your relationship. So
what about the roommate?
Oh, it worked good. We solved that. I didn't even have all this brave communication stuff quite yet. Oh yeah, I did. No, I did. We solved it. Yeah. We worked through it and got a connection, and it was towards the end of our time together. So we had many months of bliss before we were off into different parts of the world.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, any concluding thoughts that you think would be valuable to conclude shrinking 2 hours into 30 minutes?
I'm a tough guest to get information out of, I imagine, because
No, I don't think so. I think it's been phenomenal.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I've been talking now.
Exactly,
You haven't
I'm
asked a question.
phenomenal.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm a really good host that's asked you all the right questions.
There you go. Just get out there and riff, Dan. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. At some point, I'm going to put together this talk better. I've got a 15-year-old version of it that people listen to on podcasts.
A lot of people make e-courses
MP3s.
around here.
I know they do. I just haven't got around to it.
What's that? An MP what?
An MP3.
What's that, Dan?
Shut up. So I'll send it to you on a hard drive or whatever.
A what?
A floppy disk. Anyway.
None of those are in my code book. I don't know what you're saying right now.
Anyway, so I think it does take time. So be gracious to yourself. And by the way, not everybody has to use the tools. I guess that's a good one. So my wife doesn't quite use the tools the way I do, and I don't need to look at her like, hey, use the tools. I'm the communications guru, or I'm sad when you don't use the tools that I like to use. All
I'm teaching this to everybody. You better do it.
We have to model this, baby. My reputation's on the line. She does it different, but I have found in our relationship, even though I'm using my tools and she's using hers, she has it. She has a code book. She has a toolbox that she's using. But in our love and intimacy and friendship with each other, it's not like I don't need her to do it perfect. Sometimes people get in this brave communication where well, no, you have to tell me how you feel exactly and say it right. And no, it's much more flexible. If you're a foreman at a concrete job and you tell the guys, I feel sad when you don't show up to work on time, the concrete guys are not going to think that's amazing.
Yeah, no.
So, some people you don't want intimacy with, so you've used a non-emotional word like, I'm uncomfortable when, that's not really an emotion. The emotions would be I'm sad and scared, right? Uncomfortable.
You got to know what to use in the context of the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So there's some what I call kind of I don't feel great when that's a, there you go.
That's great.
Yep.
Thanks, Dan. Yep. Amazing. There is your 30-minute talk on Brave Communication. Be looking for the MP3s coming out soon by Dan Fairley, perhaps in a hard drive or a floppy disk.
CD-ROMs.
There we go.
The CD-ROMs.
Hey, thanks for joining us on the Let's Talk About It podcast, Brave Communication. I'm sure that it changed your life.
Thank you for listening to the Moral Revolution podcast. For more content, visit moralrevolution.com and follow us on social media, pursuing God's design for sexuality.